Welcome to this web exclusive interview with family law lawyer Lorne MacLean. Lorne, you were talking on our show about unrepresented people going to court needing to express themselves by wrapping it in a Tiffany's box. What do you mean?
Well, Your Honor, what happens basically, I find with self-represented persons, is that when they act on their own, they end up prolonging their court case and they end up having a substandard result. So the benefit of having a lawyer is to focus the arguments. You've been married a number of years. There's a long story to be told, but family court is an extremely busy place. Focus. Get rid of the extraneous matters. Keep it simple. All right, keep it simple. Stupid is really something that's very applicable to presenting your case in family court if you're going to be on your own, which I don't recommend.
I think that the problem is that there's so much emotion involved that what the client thinks is relevant, for example, my ex cheated on me, my mother-in-law interfered in our marriage, that's actually not what's relevant to an issue of child support, which is about income, or spousal support or property division. I don't think people can be objective about themselves.
Here's what happens. Part of our job as lawyers at the beginning is to have people have a bite of reality sandwich early on. Tell them the realistic outcomes that they can expect. Tell the client right up front if they're being unrealistic, because my job is to be objective. I'm not a mouthpiece for the client. I will fight for them to the very end, but we will fight smart. We will fight in an organized fashion. We will fight with arguments that make sense. We will not want to risk turning a judge off by wasting the court's time with extraneous arguments when we have bigger fish to fry. So focus on the strong points of your case. It's like a David Letterman show. 5 top tips of how to win your family case. 1, be able to summarize your case in less than 5 minutes and present to the judge that you have a positive solution to the problem. Attack the problem, not the person. I tell people, each of you is 100% responsible for your 50% of the problem. So look in the mirror. What can you do to make things better in this post-separation life?
Do you think that one of the biggest problems is that clients don't like the advice they're getting because they're looking for a lawyer that agrees with them instead of a lawyer who tells them what they really need to hear?
That is a warning sign for a lawyer. If you have a client who comes in and they've had 4 or 5 lawyers before you, they may be looking for someone that just will be their mouthpiece. And what happens is a lawyer who becomes a mouthpiece is really not an effective advocate for their client at all, because they lose objectivity. The court doesn't feel confident in accepting the argument because it's too far out there. And that's, I think, what happens so often to self-reps. There was an old Fram oil filter commercial where there's a mechanic with a car smoking behind him, and you could have bought an oil filter for $14, but you wanted to save on that lawyer at the start of the case, and at the end you've got an even bigger mess that could have been resolved cheaply, faster at the beginning, that you're trying to get out of 2 or 3 years down the road, and you can't. And that's when things really become serious.
So if you have a lawyer, take your lawyer's advice. Don't just expect that the lawyer's going to do whatever you want, because the lawyer's there with training and experience and knows whether you've got a real claim or not. And the other thing I hear from people is that when they do have a lawyer and there's no lawyer on the other side, the party with the lawyer feels as though their case became so much more complicated than if there'd been a lawyer on the other side.
That's what studies show. Cases are prolonged when you're dealing with self-represented litigants. The court system gets clogged. I welcome the early intervention or the settlement conferences that you can have with a judge, particularly when there's a self-represented client on the other side, because they're not going to trust their spouse. They're probably not going to trust me as that spouse's lawyer, but maybe they will listen to reason from a judge. So if we can front load the case to the settlement meeting with the judge, have all our ducks in a row at that meeting so it's productive, hopefully we can kill that case off, save people money, turn them into winners so they move on to a satisfying post-separation life, free from bitterness.
It's not rocket science, trying to tie up the loose ends after a marriage breaks down. It really mostly is about common sense and being fair.
It's true, and if we can get people to attack the problem rather than the person, I say, or their spouse, we're so much farther ahead, because the past is the past. We've got to move forward now, and really, sometimes going to family court is like, I say, running in quicksand. If you can stay out of that quicksand, all the better. Save your money, spend it on your children and yourself.
Try working there. Lorne, thank you very much for appearing on our show.
Thanks, Judge Brownstone.